the Kanji characters of China and Japan, the hieroglyphs of Egypt. A lot of stuff came from just simply drawing pictures. Because I think originally the A was RA is technically the upside down version of them drawing an ox head, because I think that's how it got started. Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to Digital Paul Workshop. It is I, that eraser that keeps tearing your paper, Techno Meow Tinkerer. And today is just going to be a nice little simple time lapse as we talk about some things to do when learning how to draw. Kinda. It's going to be a time lapse video of me drawing Attea. I am trying to learn how to draw on this tablet a bit more. But before we go into that, I'm going to show you some of my previous artwork I did. Now, I used to draw with pen and pencil a lot growing up. And of course, one of the first things we see here is a pen artwork I did years ago. I think I did this back in college. It is of the Guyver Bio Booster 1. And of course, I do see issues. I didn't draw some things as accurate, but I know I was looking at the character at the time I was drawing it. And this was done very graphic, intense. I don't know, was this... I'm trying to remember what class I might have did this in, or did I do this for fun? But it's basically what it was a pencil that I went back and inked over. This was one I did probably about 4 or 5 years ago, with Raven and Gwen casting a spell together. Now, I did use the Raven from the more DC animated movies, mainly because I did not want to have to draw that belt that she had in the Teen Titans cartoon series. I am not good at drawing circles, even at an angle, and drawing multiple ones. So I went with the one from the animated movies because her design was a bit more to where I could probably draw. Now this was actually small. It looks larger, but this was actually done small. Is the head of the tick, and you can kind of tell by just looking at some of the line work that I'm good at drawing things small more than I am big. And I'm also good if I have the actual original to look at. Trying to do this from memory, not so much. And of course, Quake Woman, also known as Tempo from the Mega Man series, and Splash Woman. As you can tell, I need to work on my hands a bit. This was some practice drawings I was doing for fun, trying to work on poses and stuff. But as we get into the video now, I'm learning how to try to get how to draw in Krita using the pen. I said in a previous video, or maybe another video, I can't remember which one because I got a couple I'm still in the middle of editing, but that I'm used to a mechanical pencil and a pen. I'm used to fine point pens, micro point pens, mechanical pencils, drawing that way. And so trying to get used to drawing here in the tablet is a bit of a challenge for me because one, the tip is not as fine as I'm used to drawing, and another issue is the size of the canvas. I'm used to drawing on paper, so I'm used to visually working on that and trying to get out. And as you can see here, I'm having trouble. Actually, you can see I turned the canvas to try to get better at the use. This is another thing. I'm used to drawing with my pads turned a certain way when I'm drawing. That's one reason I was zoomed out there, is because I can tend to do things better if I do it on a smaller scale than larger scale. Now I'm implementing I'm actually implementing a principle that is kind of used in drawing, and it varies now depending on what drawings you do. If you ever seen the animated movie Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans, they kind of reference this, the head height. The standard human head height for realistic from my figure drawing class in college was 7.5 heads high. Comics, I think sometimes, and some anime, I think run either to 8, sometimes 9. Now, I think it was 9 circles high. I used to do like the circle part of the head. Because I used to do, that's one thing I used to do back in high school. I would take a stencil, draw a circle, and then just add the chin. And then I'll just draw a bunch of circles underneath that to mark out, because the upper part of the chest to the chin sometimes, well, to right there under the, I think what's called the cervix, that center part of your rib cage, that the on the bottom side of your rib cage, that kind of is at the top of that arch to your chin, I want to think is one head high. And then for some of these, it's either that, yeah, because you see right there where I'm trying to draw that part, I think it's like supposed to be one head high. And then the waist, I probably actually did this wrong. I think sometimes it's the waist, I think it's supposed to be one head, but it might be the hip might be half a head, so I might actually mix that up. I'm not 100% sure. And if you was to bend your knee up to your chest, the buttocks to the knee is about the full length of the chest. So these are just simple measurements you can use if you're drawing a human figure, especially trying to figure out the proportions. The elbows come down to about right where the belly button is at, because it's along that area. And your hand kind of comes down, the fingers touching your thigh. About midway in the thigh? I'm trying to remember. I'm not standing, I'm sitting, so it's hard to remember that stuff. Okay, now I'm actually drawing her hands on the hip. But yeah, the number of head highs also plays in the part to sometimes what mood you're trying to get across. Going back to the Teen Titans movie, one thing when I remember when Teen Titans Go first came out, I knew it was going to be more comedic, because the super diminutive chibi style, where the characters are about 3 heads high, are usually done for more comedy focused animation. I remember that with a lot of stuff I've seen in Japan, some of the animation like Records of Lotus War. So I was already expecting that this Teen Titans Go was not going to be the serious, it was going to be more of a toon style, just based on that. It's not a hardened rule, but it's usually a typical thing, because I think it's a panty and stocking with garter belt copies some of that flat. I'm trying to think. The character, they're not using the full head high. I think they're almost closer to Sabrina, but it's copying that flat art style of Powerpuff Girls and Dexter's Laboratory and stuff like that. And one of the things is learning how to draw. Anybody can draw. I'm going to tell you that right now. Anybody can draw. I've had a marketing professor say she couldn't draw, she did a stick figure for us as well. You just drew right there. And technically, if you can write letters, you can draw, because as I think it was one movie said, it's called drawing sound. It's what letters are. And they originally did come from pictographs. Most alphabet, at least from what I've studied, the alphabet of the Mediterranean and Europe, even the Kanji characters of China and Japan, the hieroglyphs of Egypt, a lot of stuff came from just simply drawing pictures. Because I think originally the RA is technically the upside down version of them drawing an ox head, because I think that's how it got started. And B was supposed to, I think, at least in Hebrew, it was supposed to be a shape of a house or with an open door or something. But I think Greek was the same way as well. But if you can do a stick figure or write letters, or simple calligraphy, some people's got beautiful handwriting, that is a form of art. So don't let anybody tell you you can't draw. Now, whether you're talking about a specific style, which usually is the reference of how good you are in doing art style, that requires work. And there's different practices, and people's got different methods. I actually went through high school, taking art classes in high school and college. I majored with a bachelor's in visual arts. Complete waste of money. Honestly, here's a deuce fact. Do not go to college to be an artist. Though it is fun, most everything you can learn in that college, paying those thousands of dollars, you can pretty well learn for free online for paying a fraction amount. And art supplies cost money, so you'll depending upon what type of art you want to get into, is how much it's going to cost you. Whether you use digital or paints or pencils, color pencils probably the cheapest, one of the cheaper routes. Oh yeah, I changed the size a bit more so I can get into. And this is a little cheating thing. It's one thing I like about the digital is I can actually use a. I don't know what this is called. It's mirroring what I draw on one side, so I can kind of fix. Because if you can look on certain sides, on certain objects on one side, I tend to draw it better than the other side, and so I oftentimes I would pick the side I did the better drawing on. Yeah, digital art makes things easy. It's one of the reasons why I don't have an issue with AI, because AI does a lot of the same stuff that we had to do during art class. People say it using other people's art to create art, and that's kind of how most art is originally done. When you grow up in school, you draw your favorite characters, whether it's Spider-Man, Goku, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pikachu, and a lot of times you want to try to draw it to look exactly like the character, so you spend time learning that particular art style for that character. AI does the same thing. And all my art classes, when we did drawings, whether it's still life, well, I'm looking at someone else's art and trying to mimic it while learning how to draw. Figure drawing, same thing. You're looking at real people trying to learn, so you're trying to mimic the art of nature in itself. And figure and still life, depending upon what your still life is, the same way. Whether you're drawing a tree, or it could be mimicking nature, or you're drawing a house or a vase or vase if you want to get more expensive. You're trying to learn someone else's style and make it part of yours, or at least understand the basics so you can create your own style. And it's kind of past the point, but you saw I did a lot of armatures. For me, I've never really committed to fully drawing. It was always more fun, even though I always wanted to create stuff. There's also one reason why I like Blender and 3D art, and I'm more in tune to that, because you can kind of easily, well, not necessarily easily fix, but to me it feels easily to fix some things or to get certain things once you learn how to do it. But that's basically mostly art, is you just sitting there learning how something is done by a lot of times mimicking what is done. Again, like I said, that's one reason I don't have an issue with AI art, because it's learning the same way we all learn. Now, there are very talented people who could pick up a pencil and automatically draw something as they see it. And then you have the really rare talented people that can draw it out of figuring everything up in their head and memory and do it. That's the different levels of intelligence. Everybody has a different way of processing and handling stuff. Is why some people are better at one thing than the other. I think it was Albert Einstein, I think, that says if you judge a fish by its, or everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will think it's stupid. But thanks to the digital, from programs like Illustrator and Photoshop and Krita and the tablets and now even AI, more and more people can get into being creative, get into ideas, and I just love it. I love the explosion of creativity. It's kind of like how the Bauhaus, if I remember my art history correctly, and we're talking about something that's almost 15 years, well, almost, well, actually it's almost 2 decades ago, because I graduated college in 2005. But the Bauhaus revolutionary art to make art available for the common person, because for a long period of time only the elite, the rich, could afford a lot of art or afford some of the nicer arts. I think, if I remember correctly, the Bauhaus was implementing some of the manufactured techniques that came from the Industrial Revolution. And now I'm going off of memory here, so I could be incorrect, because like I said, it's over 2 decades ago we covered this in my art history. But yeah, they if I remember correctly, they revolutionized making art by implementing some of the techniques used in manufacturing of goods and parts. And that way, that's why you can go into Family Dollar and find fairly inexpensive figurines, statues to decorate your house, paintings, is all because they implemented the technology at the time to make art faster and thus able to make a lot of it and more expensive for the common man. And I see AI going to do the same thing. Yes, you're going to lose some jobs at the big corporations. We saw that when the computer first came out. Everybody was worrying about it taking jobs. And yes, now your secretary can both design the pamphlets for your flyers and stuff and do your bookkeeping so you don't have to hire two people. But how many more jobs, how many more independent companies, independent workers, freelance workers, self-proprietary businesses came out of that advancement? And I'm looking to see for the same advancement with AI. I know I'm not here trying to promote AI as I'm being paid to, but I just love it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the future of it, what it's going to bring us in creativity. Because how many high school students want to create, or even college students? I know in high school and college, I always want to do my own comic, my own animation, but that was always a lot of time. And college kind of burnt me out, so I kind of fell off from doing that for a while. But yeah, life will get on you, you get burnt out, and it requires time and money to do stuff. And there was still a lot I had to learn, but with thanks to, especially thanks to the modern internet, and now even with AI, it can make someone who doesn't have a lot of money and maybe not even a lot of time be able to create their vision. There was a video I saw a while back where someone actually made a Blender video uh, based on Scooby-Doo and Five Nights at Freddy. And now everybody got a backlash because he used AI to create the voices. Well, you can do most of the animation yourself, and especially if you don't have a lot of money if you're willing to take time to learn Blender. Voices, on the other hand, you gotta really train your voice. And I could do some voices, but I don't know if I could do a wide range in those voices. I mean, I did my ghostly voice, but that's very limited to what I can do. But now with AI training program, I could probably record that and me speaking that way, and then make it where it can produce the other, especially if I don't have the money. Now, if I remember correctly, once he got the money up, he was going to re-record the audio with actual voice actors. But for people who don't have a lot of money, AI is a blessing in what it can do for somebody trying to get out there. You just got to make sure you be honest when you do use AI. Like I use AI for the backdrop of some of my scenes. I use it to create some of the thumbnails, or at least some artwork I use in the thumbnails. And it's also good for coming up with ideas. But going back to learning how to draw, like I said, you can go on YouTube. There's plenty how-to tutorials, and every artist has got his own unique way. I remember hearing about an artist. I don't know who it is, and I don't even know 100% it's true. But I heard that there was one artist who spent years mastering to paint a flick with the brush, and the brush being only one horse hair. If I remember correctly, brushes used to be made out of horse's hair. And he spent over a year perfecting that technique. And you do have some people that do that. The problem is a lot of us do not have that time or the money to afford that time. And like I said right here with this, the ability to clone or mirror what I'm doing is quite helpful. And I'm used to drawing one way on the piece of paper. Drawing on the tablet is a little bit more cumbersome, more tricky for me. So I'm actually having to do some stuff that I normally would not do much on paper, or not to the extreme, like having to turn, like I think I've had to turn the picture over a couple times. I'm used to maybe having to draw with the picture slanted, but not sometimes. But because of the way it's positioned, the tablet's position and my hand's position, I have to try to rotate the canvas. And as you can see, I've been making use of the layers in here, which that's one thing I love about this, because when drawing on paper, I do, like I said, I do a lot of armatures, or I do an armature and do a lot of erasing and correcting. Here's a little bit more easier, and you can just keep using layers till you get to what you need. And the erasing, I'm telling you, what I hate is when I go to draw something in pen after doing pencil. The pencil looks good. I do in pen and I end up messing up. I end up messing up a line, carrying it too far, carrying it not too short. It gets wavy when it need to be smooth, stuff like that. And doing it digitally is such a helpful thing because it's so easy to fix a mistake. Yeah, I brought in one of the actual official art pieces of Attea to try to get the colors right. Oops. And of course, I know how to do some adjustment of some of the colors to try and get them to look properly. Now, I didn't go in and add no shadows. If I added shadows, this character would have popped out a little bit better. But this was mainly me just working. Oh, I just realized I forgot to save. The first rule of computer, I forgot. Well, we had 2 rules in my digital art classes, specifically my graphic design classes. Save and save often is the first rule of working on the computer, and it goes not just with drawing, with typing, with doing any type of work. You want to save and save often. And the second rule is always make backups. I don't know how many times I've accidentally deleted the original file to something, and if you're doing something over a network, it don't always go to a recycle bin. It actually gets erased permanently. Well, not permanently, but not no easy way without having to do special scans on the hard drive to try to pull it back. So yeah, the 2 rules of computers: save and save often, and always make backups. I need to get in the habit of actually, when I'm working on a file, to create the file I'm working on and do a save as a backup on some stuff. Especially if I'm going to be doing a lot of changes and edits. And I may want to, I got to remind myself if I ever want to use the original again. Now, one thing I think I did with Attea later on is I did duplicate the layer. Or I guess I might have did it here. Yeah, it looks like I might have did it. I got a layer 4. I might have duplicated it before I realized I didn't finish adding in the detail. And that's because if I want to change the color, there's one thing I have an issue with Krita that I don't think I ever had when I was using Photoshop. And it may be just because I haven't figured out the right setting yet, but at some point, and probably I think later on when I get in color I might see some of it, is that when you add color to the object, so like if I was to add color to her shirt that I'm working on right now, you'll see a light grayish white line between the color and the black edges. And like I said, I don't know if it's because I just haven't figured out how to do the setting yet. Yeah, you kind of see I am not good at even doing smooth curves. I see some spots I missed right there on the legs. They don't come completely up to where her skirt ends. And that was another thing, issue I had with doing on pen sometimes, is like I said, sometimes I will come too short where I don't make that connection. And at least with digital, I can kind of go back in, like when I go to color, ooh, made a mistake. Oh, you should have seen, actually I did a color version. Here's a couple, I think I'll pop it up on screen if I still have them. But when I did the Gwen and Raven picture, I originally drew it, brought it in, and used I don't know if I used Krita at the time to clean it up, or I was still using the old Photoshop 5. I think I was using Krita. But I used to bring it in, go into Photoshop. I remember doing this in Photoshop a lot, and clean up my artwork. I use contrast to help erase some of the lines that were left over from my pencil that didn't get erased off. I'll have to go in and fill in some of the gaps, like what I saw between her leg and her skirt. Now you see, you can, yeah, here, like I was talking about the color, you can kind of see it with the some of the lines, that how there is a slight gray area between the color and the blackness, and that's something I got to figure out how to fix when I and Krita, so I can get, so I don't have that. I can have a more smoother transition where it goes directly from black to the color and not have that whitish gray in between. And kind of say I didn't finish the boots right. Well, even right there you can see where the black, I put the black in, and it's very noticeable when I put the grays and the blacks in, that you can see that line. And I gotta, like I said, figure that out. But what was it? Oh yeah, Photoshop. Yeah, I used to go into Photoshop. And in Photoshop, I didn't have this issue. I didn't have that ever forming. And like I said, I'm just adding color. I didn't add no shadows or highlights, which would have been better and make the character really stood out. But mainly this was more for me trying to get a habit of drawing, and I just wanted to color. Now I'm going to cheat here to do the little highlight. Yeah, I keep changing the pen. So that's something else you kind of get used to, trying to change the pen size. Zoom in here, but yeah, you can really see it around the purple. You don't see it so much in the gray, even though it is slightly visible. It's not as noticeable as the black and the purple. And like I said, it's going to take me some time getting used to drawing. I've bought the tablet, and I've done more photo editing, where I combine stuff and put text over things, especially finding PNG stuff, than I've done actually drawing with Krita. But I need to get in the habit of drawing the tablet a bit more. In the internet kill switch, I did use the tablet to draw out some diagrams and examples. So I will be getting some practice in as I'm making some stuff for these videos. But I can see right offhand how's in the proportions. Her shoulders, well, if we're going by a more adult Attea, maybe the shoulders would be that wide. If we're going more of a younger, probably your 20s or teens, they might not be that wide. And if you see, if I go back with the pen till it kind of gets rid of some of that white space, but it has like a little dithering or blurriness, and that's not exactly what I want. I need to find out. I got Illustrator. I might. Some of this stuff is easier to do in a tablet, like doing organic shapes. Illustrator's good. You can do organic shapes, but it seems like it's a little bit more work than trying to draw it with a pen. Because I think the Illustrator I got is CS. That's one thing I try to do, is make the line slightly offset from the one that goes over her upper chest to the one going down her belly, so it shows that the difference in level. I didn't have a front-on view. Like I said, the picture I was using was the one I borrowed stuff from. So I'm wondering if the black line also goes down her other side, but I'm not 100% sure. And there I go. I'm going to try to correct some of the mistakes I made while I'm trying to darken that up, or I'm not darken, but making the line thicker. I probably didn't see those originally. You know, I never fixed them. It's because the tablet screen is small. It's the bottom. I can put my hand on the tablet, and from the bottom of my palm to the top of my middle finger is about the height of the tablet. But that's just my little simple 2 cents over art creation, a little bit what I was doing and some of my techniques. Like I said, I'm going to try to get back in the habit of drawing more. I've kind of fell out of it over the years. Probably about a good, a little over, let's see, probably about 7 years ago, 7 to 10 years ago, I was back into doing drawings for a while. I fell out since college. College kind of burned me out, having to do all the stuff art class. And so I'm trying to get myself back into it. I love creating, and I love that with all these tools they come out with now, that's actually making it where you can bring your dreams to life. And for all of you out there who's aspiring to be artists, you may have to find your niche. You can't, we all can't be a jack of all trades, and it's kind of will take a lot of time for some of us. For me, yes, it will take time. But there are tools out there that can help you fill in where you may not be good at. And so do not be discouraged. Just keep exploring, keep practicing, keep trying something new until you find what you like. I can sit here and edit video. I can sit here and do Blender for hours quicker than I can sometimes draw. Now, if I can get myself to actually sit down and draw, I can draw for a while. But as for me, it's quicker for me to get into Blender to do something. And so that's probably where my strength is. It's probably where I'm going to grow the strongest at, even on this channel. Faster than drawing on the tablet. But that's just it. And if you can draw something that, now don't, a lot of art studios, I remember seeing this, they didn't always have someone that draws everything. You had some people that focus on backgrounds, and during junior high and high school, I usually could do scenery pretty well. Vanishing Point was one of my favorite things to do, doing city street, doing hallways. Not so much doing nature. I could draw nature, but not using Vanishing Point. Or at least I never utilized it that way. Some people are good at drawing mechanics. Some people are good at drawing animals. You may have to look and see where your strength is at and what you're passionate. What you're passionate about is oftentimes what you're going to excel at. And do not expect for some of you starting out to be making it big. Yes, it does happen for some. But like for most artists, we were called starving artists for a reason. Because most of our money that we got from our part-time jobs and stuff went to buying art supplies. And we did art as a passion. We lived on ramen noodle soup, and we did art as a passion. So I know I'm going to probably upset my old art teachers before saying you don't need to go to college for art. Now, if you're going to go work for a particular company, they may require it. And the smart thing to do is not take out a student loan. Find someone else to pay for it. There are scholarships that will pay. If you have a good enough portfolio, a scholarship will pay sometimes, or even a company that you may be working for, you might, depending on the company, may pay for you to continue your education. Try to avoid student loans. You're better off saving the money to go to college than taking out student loans. But yeah, look for someone else who's willing to pay. Now, you may have to work for that company, and depending upon whose scholarship it is depending upon what requirements. Most scholarships require you to keep a certain grade level, but if they're from like a company, they might want you to come work for that company for so many years, which is good in a way because it's a guaranteed job, and then they're paying for you to go to college. But for the most part, you don't need it. You got the internet. You can run down to Walmart. Dollar Tree's got crafts. You can go down to Dollar Tree and spend. Go to Walmart and Dollar Tree, because sometimes you'll find stuff slightly cheaper at Walmart. Surprise, surprise, than Dollar Tree. And sometimes Dollar Tree you'll find things cheaper. But this is kind of like me just rambling about how great art is and thankful. And we find art and all sorts of stuff. And stuff you don't even think about. When you walk in next time to your local public restroom, regardless of what it is, take notice at even just the faucet and the sink and the other utilities in it. An artist had to design that. It may not be some fancy name artist. It may not be a glamorous artist job, but an artist still designed it. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed me rambling on. I hope I didn't bore everybody too much with my craziness and 2 cents. But if you enjoy what you see, please like the video. If you enjoy the content of my channel, please subscribe and share it with anybody you think might find this interesting or useful. It will help me grow, and I hope the information I'm giving will help others as they grow. Have a nice day.